So you're relatively new to the whole field. What is something interesting that you have learned as you kind of go through this process of learning how the whole system works?
Lots of different areas between treatment of the chemicals, as far as even going out into the field, trying to find people's curb stops, like everything is. There's a lot of interesting things that you run into throughout the day that keep you on your toes.
Because you're not just like sitting in the plant; you are out in the community. Doing various roles
water
as well.
meters to be changed, or someone needs water shut off or whatnot.
And do you see a lot of that in the average day? Like, are you out quite a bit, or?
Yeah, there's people are moving, moving homes and stuff. So you got to read a water meter for them, and the next person comes in, and you got to have a new reading and all that kind of stuff. So,
our tours.
Yeah, there's the tour we check out. We got to check on our water tower every day, make sure our boilers and stuff are running there. Check out on the wastewater plant. Summertime we have the pool involved, so
right, of course.
Yeah.
How much involvement do you have with the actual wells that are supplying the water into town?
Regular involvement. I check. We got stuff we gotta check on there every day there. So between pressures and what they're putting out and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Because I know there's, and we talked about this last time we spoke as well, there's some, I guess, intended to be some redundancy between wells, so they aren't running all 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of, well, it's not that we're out at the wells all the time, but we can see the wells.
Monitoring
we can
them.
monitor.
Yeah, we can monitor.
daily.
They're all in the computer.
Yeah. Now, as far as the expansion of the system goes, really, you guys are the ones who are responsible for understanding the capacity of the system, when we're near or approaching capacity, and what to do about that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you sort of look at that and make recommendations to the town? Is there like other involvement from the province? What sort of levels are we looking at here?
Yeah, I think we touched on this a little bit last time, but so basically we're looking at, and because all our records we do all day long, every day of the year is all compiled, and so we graph them out. So you see where your consumption's going and when the consumption's higher or lower, and you know what your capacity is. Mm-hmm. So since I've started, actually before I've started, I took some information, we graphed that all out. And it's basically the last 8 years, it's going, like the graph has gone from here to there, So we knew this time was coming, and hence the reservoir, right?
Right.
And so there is, as things increase, we just have to keep finding the weak link and keep boosting it up, right? So now we've gone with this reservoir, and there's plans for other stuff, but we'll just see what's needed next and where we have to go. But as consumption increase, and it's not only, like a lot of people say, oh, well, if you can make 100 gallons and the town needs 100 gallons, you're good, right? But you always got to keep in the back of your mind, the entire principle of water is based on redundancy. So if I can make 100 gallons with this particular object and this object breaks, I still have to make 100 gallons. So I need something that makes 100 gallons besides this one, right? So you literally have to be able to make 200 gallons if you need 100 gallons. So you always have to have that in the back of your mind that, I can keep up. Well, keeping up isn't good enough, because if something breaks, then you're done.
So there have to be redundancies through the entire system on every level, really.
Yeah, we try to have that in everything. Like we have 2 ROs in the basement, and we have 2 sand filters. We have 2 chemical pumps on every chemical. It's just two of everything, right? So, and we're to the point now that we're running both of them for like 10 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of losing that redundancy. That's why we're slowly trying to catch up to that again.
So how far ahead do you really need to project these expansions? Like at what point do you say, okay, in 4 years we're going to need this, so we need to start now? Is that?
Yeah, well, it's all cost, right? Manitoba Water Services, which is run through the government, will actually supply part of the cost if they come on the project with you. So you want to get them on board, which isn't going to happen overnight. So you have to have all these projects you want to do years in advance listed and on their queue, so they can go, we have some money from the government. What are we going to do? And then they look on the list and they go, well, this guy wanted to do this 10 years ago. Well, maybe we should do that one first, you know? So you want to get them involved as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And that way you get them in, which is normally about a 50% share they do.
Okay.
And not only just listed, you have to actually kind of know how and what you want to do. So then you get engineers involved, and so they know kind of where you want to go with that. And
Right.
yeah, so then we kind of keep track of that, and then we take it to the operations manager, and he looks at it, and then he'll take it to the council, or they'll talk about it in the town office or whatever, and they basically just end up deciding which project they have to do next, and go from there.
And do you generally find they just sort of take your recommendation, this is what we need next, and they kind of go with that?
Yeah, no, they're very good about that. And I mean, you have to explain what you need and why you need it, but I mean, it's like anything, right?
As long as it's justifiable, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I can't imagine a lot of people on council or really in any level of government actually understand how it works and why you need what you need.
I would love it that they would, but
that's why we do these shows, right?
Yeah, they're usually, especially like council, they got their hands in so many different things. They can understand superficially, right? But I don't think they understand the full depth. And it would be really hard. They'd almost have to literally come and work there for a month to kind of figure it out.
It's such a specialized field. You can't just kind of do a little bit of it. You kind of need to know all these moving parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're not going to walk in there in a week and just be able to.
No, and please no one try this. I like my drinking water the way it is.
Yeah. Well, the government mandates that. So I don't know if Kevin mentioned his position, but he will, when I retire, he will be taking over my position, so that we've got that sequence of somebody knows you don't walk in blind.
You've got the succession plan in place, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we don't want to walk into blind. That's something that's that important, because makes it really tough.
Absolutely. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, you want someone who knows this system and not just any system.
Yeah.
Because everyone, I would imagine, in different communities of different sizes is going to run in a little bit different way. Yeah. Same regulations, but
different water.
Different, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, different water treated different ways and use different chemicals. And
yes, that's probably why you have to get so many hours in before you can just climb up in your levels for your courses. So that way you can get familiarized with where you're working.
So they really encourage that kind of hands-on, you have to do this to understand it.
No, it's mandatory.
Yeah. So given the that Neepawa has kind of seen, did we get bumped up a queue somewhere as far as expansion goes, or did we kind of get very close to the edge before we were able to proceed with our expansion?
Well, like I said, our wastewater plant was kind of like just because we had to, right? Yeah. Our water treatment is always kind of on our discretion, but we try to stay ahead of that curve. And I know when I started, I was always trying to look at least 5 years ahead. You'd almost like to think about 10 years ahead, see where that curve is going, because like I say, especially when you get the government involved, nothing is quick. Yeah. So you have to.
So is the arrival of the new hospital going to affect you guys in terms of consumption? Because I can imagine that'll be a huge consumer of water.
I don't think it'll be a big.
With the new addition to our reservoir that we're adding into the plant, I think should be.
So we're still in good shape, but then as soon as that goes in, another 5 years down the road, you're kind of looking, now our curve looks like this.
Depends what else comes in the next 5 years around town,
and
right?
who knows, right? There's every other week it seems like something
each
new
direction.
is
So
yeah, if we got another big industry, that would make a substantial difference, right?
Yeah.
Hospitals, as a rule, they use a fair little bit of water, but nothing compared to big industry.
Yeah. So something like of course, High Life, but also something like maybe the farmery probably processes through more than.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Probably more than people think.
Yeah.
In terms of that, we talked about that one time. Like, if your water bill is approaching what the farmery is doing, you're doing something wrong.
Close your tap.
Close your tap. You've been running it for 24 hours straight for a month.
Check your toilets.
Yeah. More on sort of the growth of the town. What are sort of the limits of what geographically we cover? So if we sort of expand beyond that point, then we're putting in new lines, which I guess is not technically your department. That's
well, even in the CN property, they had to put all in
Yeah,
all new
okay,
lines,
yeah.
right? And
Lines,
it's,
yeah.
every time you're going into an area that doesn't have any infrastructure, you have to put it in. And it's, it's just constant now. Looking forwards, it's just constant what's going to all be happening, so.
Well, that is great. We do actually want to go out to the wastewater plant and check that out. So I'm going to leave a little bit of time for that. So any final thoughts from you guys on sort of the operations of the department?
Anything?
Oh, good.
We covered it fairly
Yeah,
exhaustively
yeah.
for you.
I guess my final word would be just to remind everybody the water is safe, drink it, and don't put any grease down the sink.
There we go. That is
Yeah.
the most important takeaways from this today.
Yep.
All right. So thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you join us on the tour that'll be following. Take care.
Okay, so we start off right at the door here, this stainless steel pipe that's here. So this is where we get semi-loads of elm. So they hook their truck up outside and they have a blower on it. So they blow that liquid and comes up in the pipe. And if you look right behind you is one of the tanks, that large tank there is one of the tanks we have for elm right now. We will be having a few more once we get the rest of the stages done. That one there is about 15 ton it holds, and we'll be having probably another 2 that'll hold about the same amount, just so we're not having trucks in and out every couple of days. So that's our elm system. There will be, we'll just walk this way a little bit. Maybe I'll get you to come up on the stairs. I guess we have, this is our elm pump, which applies the elm to the water. And all its paraphernalia. So right now, as you can see, this reservoir beside us is empty right now. So this will have a mixing chamber in here, and it'll also have our disc filter. So the disc filter is going to take those particulates out of the water and separate them so we have the clean water going through. Right now we just have the water coming in this large pipe here, transfers across, it drops into that channel on the other side where that silver Trojan box is. So that Trojan box is our UV. So that water all gets dropped into that channel, and we'll go look at that a little more. The water goes through there, UV disinfects it, gets to the end. The elm is added right now, and then it goes outside into our old cell 3. So we have time for that stuff to settle out there and the water to come off, because we don't have this process in here right now. We'll go into the far room. Well, maybe we'll look at this Trojan thing here while we're here. Okay, so this end is the water after it's gone through the UV, but this is basically just kind of a weir. So all that means is your water, you can see how much surface area that goes back and forth and back and forth. If we just had a straight blank here and it just ran over, we'd only have 2 feet of area for that water to run over. So as soon as the water increases or decreases, that level would change so drastically. So this gives us that large area. So if we double the water, it might only come up a 1/16 of an inch. Whereas if we just had it straight across, it might come up an inch, right?
Right.
So it just gives it more area. So this goes from here, just drops down, and there's a little mixture down there. And you can see, because the chemical hasn't reacted enough to take the phosphorus out yet, we're actually making bubbles. So that bubbles is, you know, like when you do laundry, there's phosphates in that.
Oh, so that's what that
your
is.
laundry,
Okay.
So that's what the bubbles are. And so that'll go right now, like I say, into cell 3. And that phosphorus will, with contact from the elm, will have time to settle out into cell 3 and it'll stay there. And then our water will go off the top. But eventually, like I say, that will all happen in here. So we'll just go down here and just a little. Okay. So I'm going to show you this. It's not something you stare at for a long time because it is a UV light. It's not good for your eyes, but I mean, just to look at it and take a picture and move away is fine.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to stare at it for. Okay, so this is the UV light. They're hanging 5 bulbs down, and there's 5 different runs of them there. So that's a lot of bulbs, and you can see the shiny green light. So what that light does is that just kills the bacteria. So the rest of the system is, here's the main control panel here. We have electrical lines and we have hydraulic lines. There are sweepers on those bulbs that go back and forth to clean them off as they get dirty. They keep getting cleaned off. So that little panel over here has a hydraulic pump in to run those sweepers back and forth. So our main control panel for that one is right here. So you can, we can set the output of the lights, how strong we want them to be. So right now they're manually set at 41, and our dosage rate is 38.38. And that's coming in right now at 14 liters a second. Because we don't have all our proper process in place, because we set it at 41, it won't be 41, because the water's not clean enough for the light to penetrate it.
Right.
So once we have the rest of the process in, that the water is more clear, or clearer, then the lights will be able to do a lot better job on it. So that's why I say we're kind of halfway in this process here. We'll just walk over to the other end and check the other panel.
I can imagine.
Okay, so right now, this is our main control panel, which eventually will have everything on here. We got an overview of the treatment, some of it that we have and some of it we don't have. As here you see that we have 2 blowers that right now run the air to the cells outside to keep them aerated. There will be 2 more blowers coming online with this next project that will actually do the aeration in the MBBR. And you can see how it shows some of the air bubbling through just to simulate what's happening. Just a rough overview of everything. It shows the status on the UV. It's green, there's no fault, everything's working. You can go to the blower system by itself. You can go to the UV system by itself. You can go to the chemical, like this is our elm tank and our chemical pump. And of course we got all alarms and set points for all these things on another screen. So it's just a brief overview of, that won't unlock unless I put the code in. So just a brief overview of the plant there. So once we get everything in place, we'll be able to run everything from here. Our alarms will all come from here. So these alarms are the same as a water plant. If an alarm goes off here, it actually phones us no matter where we are. So we don't have to worry. We don't show up 20 hours later and go, oh man, we made 20 hours of bad water. This will phone us right away. So the only other thing we have right now is we're going to go in the other room and we will actually show you there's 2 blowers we have in the control panel for that. And like I say, eventually we will have 4 blowers. But
Okay.
so we'll go look at that.
Thank you.
Really different smell.
Oh yeah. noticeable, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, so these are the two blowers we have right now. Like I say, they alternate to run the aeration in the cell. So they give us the pressures in here, what kind of pressure it's taking to run the air through. Gives us, on here, it'll give us the temperature of the blower. We have a negative pressure on our intake, what air we're drawing in to see if our filters are plugging or not on here. And because you won't see this on your TV, this is actually hot in here. We have exhaust fans running here, and when it's minus 40, we have exhaust fans running in here to keep it cool because these create so much heat.
Can verify it is warm in here.
Yeah. So there will be, the pad is made longer, there will be 2 more blowers on that other end. We have all our electrical panels all the way down this side. And our main blower panel, and as you can hear, it's very quiet in here. We shut it off, otherwise you wouldn't hear a word I said. So we have our 2 blowers right now on here, and automatic breakers on and off, and our switches on and off, and all the light indications, and our back pressure on our system to know how much. Like you can tell, like we're at 2.93 now, but it's off. But so you monitor that. So as that pressure goes higher and higher and higher, that means something's plugging out there. So it just gives you an indication to maintenance and stuff like that. So and of course it's the same as the water plant as well. We have lists of stuff. This has to be greased so often, that belt has to be changed so often, and so on and so forth. So that's just another aspect of that maintenance thing. Because if you fix it, it lasts twice as long, right? So
Right.
No sense putting new and new and new and new. It just costs a bunch of money, right?
And I was going to say, I can't imagine that is an insignificant amount of money if you're trying to replace things all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So in this corner of the building here, we're going to actually have an office here eventually. Our 2 tanks will be outside the office, and the corner will be a bathroom. We're actually also going to have, because we're working with water here, so our disc filter has to be backwashed. We have to do testing here, so we're going to need clean water here. So we're actually going to run a town water line down here. So that's, not only is that going to help us, I mean, it'll help the graveyard, but there's, instead of their seasonal hookups and stuff.
Right,
so hopefully we can get a permanent hookup there and maybe allow their grass to grow and their watering to work. Hopefully we'll solve a few problems with doing one thing.
So it's not running out here right now. And there's not coming. Okay.
Hopefully the grass grows.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of down at the end of the line. Like the road stops where we are right now. So yeah.
So I think that is all we have for the wastewater plant right now. But when we get around to getting everything done, we'll get you back again, and at that time, Kevin will probably run you through the whole system.
That'll be great. So what is left to go in now?
So we have the MBBR outside.
Okay, that is, remind me.
Microbed bioreactor.
Right.
That's the big tank with water with the air blowing through it with the little chips floating around and the bacteria growing on them. So there's that. There's the 2 blowers in here for the microbed bioreactor.
Right.
Then there's the mixed tank and the disc filter in the other part.
Which we saw the empty area there.
And,
yep.
Yeah, and there's, I'm just going to go blank. Oh yeah, 2 more Elm tanks. And we do have one thing the engineers are still working on. When that disc filter works so beautiful and perfect and separates the water from the heavy stuff, we still need a place to put the heavy stuff. So there's going to have to be a little pond or a little something yet where that goes.
Right.
There was talk about which way, if we're going to put in a centrifuge or if we're going to put it in some kind of pit or something and let it settle itself. That hasn't quite been worked out yet, but everything else is pretty much, those few things, and then we'll be up and running.
So basically, it's sort of a hybrid operation right now. We've still got one of the lagoons going, and we've got this in a partial state of operation right now.
Yep. So they're not hollering at us. They're
It's a transitional phase.
Yeah. Usually through building or through renovations and that, they give you a little bit of time to get your ducks in a row. And we're still trying to find our ducks.
And we're hoping, sometime next year.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. But I said that last time we talked. So.
Hopefully by this time next year, everything's fully operational and running.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
You bet.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys.
You bet. Anytime.